Please listen carefully.
Well, hello, universe, and welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Kristy Jansen.
And I'm Summers McKay.
And we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to help make it one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy, wind event-worthy podcast. Today is Tuesday, the 19th of January, 2021. Oh, Kristy, it is windy outside my house again today.
Yes, those living by the beach can be really good, or it cannot be so good sometimes, right?
Yeah, I think we've approached not so good in the weather around here this year. I know everyone's heard me complain at length about it, but we did have a full 12-foot tall ladder fly into the side of our house today from across our yard. So the wind is just has its own opinions. And in central and southern California, it is actually like a bona fide wind event today where the temperatures are high, the winds are gusts of up to 80 miles an hour, and there is a strong likelihood of fire. So
in other words, we may lose power.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got to get this done quickly. Everyone charge up your phones so that you can play with your old Instagram posts when the cell phone network is down.
What an apocalyptic world we're living in, huh, Summer?
Yesterday I had a conversation with our PR team for the Optimist Daily, and we work with an extraordinary team of people who help us find bookings and promote the podcast. And I felt so bad during the meeting because all I was just kind of negative. And I know that they have dozens of clients and they love our calls because we're always like the positive optimists. And I was such a pessimist yesterday. And they kind of like got me excited again, talking about some subjects we can talk about, like media literacy, that we're great on that. And that, the world has a lot of reasons to be optimistic right now. But then a little later in the evening, I tucked my daughter in and realized that I had forgotten one of her blankets, like her precious handmade quilts, on the RV, which we had returned. And perhaps it was just the 90 minutes of sleep from the previous night. Perhaps it was all the pressure, but I had a full-on meltdown, just sobbing, like panic attack level crying after I soothed her and put her to bed because she was asking for her blanket. As soon as she was asleep, I couldn't stop crying. And to the point where, of course, the blanket was on the RV. Of course, my husband drove down and picked it up. And of course, I was not actually crying about a blanket. But Kristy, I will say that optimism is perhaps not my strong suit these last couple days.
Okay, well, I think possibly it's time for some self-care.
Yeah.
Definitely getting some more sleep. Maybe doing a little bit of journaling.
Oh,
Favorite?
So you're going to serve me back my own medicine there, lady, huh?
Possibly. Or maybe you should try hiking.
It's funny because there's a headline on the Optimist Daily today that I guess we should talk about, because I've got my hiking backpack and I love being outdoors with Brennan. And so I'm going to toss her in there and try to hit the trails this weekend, provided the winter event has relieved itself, which sounds really weird. But anyway, the headline reads, "Why Hiking is Good for Your Brain." Now, this is just a great reminder for me. So, Kristy, thank you for encouraging me to talk about it. But hiking has a lot of value just beyond being outside, right? Exercise supports healthy blood vessels. Healthy blood vessels support everything in your body. Long-term prevention of dementia, among other things. Hiking also flexes your internal GPS. Basically, your wherewithal about where you are is increased when you put yourself in different places and different spaces. So unknown terrain challenges your brain and improves spatial navigation. So perhaps I'll trip over less baby toys. New skills enhance brain plasticity. Again, it's just the challenge of doing something new or different is definitely valuable to improving thought and cognitive creativity, which I could use some of. And then, of course, exploring nature reduces stress, and nature is calling me. So that is my subject. And I guess I'll keep it brief on my story today because the story that you have is remarkable from the Optimist Daily. And it's about a lot of different things. So
Yeah,
Kristy,
well, I mean,
what do you want to talk about today?
so what I want to talk about is, so first of all, both you and I are big hikers. And both of us have done our Kilimanjaro trek along with other, I mean, California is great, especially Central California.
Yeah.
Well, California, the whole country is a great place to hike. And even if there's not a lot of hills, it's just nice to be out in nature. Having the opportunity to slow down and connect to the natural world is super important for just being healthy. But it also, one of the things I like about hiking is it does get you connected to your local environment, your local surroundings in a healthy and positive way that a lot of times it can also, make you feel like you're located in a place. And that idea of place is what is behind my solution that I want to talk about. And the headline reads, Why West Virginia's Nursing Home Vaccine Rollout Has Been So Successful. So this story is about how West Virginia, unlike some other states, has taken a slightly different approach to how they are distributing and administering the vaccines for COVID-19. And as a result, they've actually been remarkably successful in really being on the ball and vaccinating all of their folks who live in nursing homes.
Yeah.
Unlike in other states where there's been hiccups, it's been troublesome. There's people don't want to get them because they're afraid. Anyway, there's a group of researchers from Johns Hopkins that were looking at what did West Virginia do? And West Virginia also, like, it's a very small state. It's not a wealthy state.
Right. We've joked that California needs some PR, but really West Virginia is right there with them.
West Virginia, absolutely. But they've done really well with this vaccine rollout. And the difference that these researchers really identified was how they approached the partnership with the pharmacies. In most states relied on giant pharmacies like Walgreens and CVS where these are massive chains. Yes, on the one hand, you think they're great. They have lots of logistics. They're in every single town, most likely. But what they don't have is the personal relationships with their local communities.
Right.
What West Virginia did is they mobilized 250 small pharmacies and tasked them with the role of vaccinating the 214 nursing homes, meaning that each pharmacy was actually responsible for only one facility. So there's this one-to-one, a much more manageable kind of rollout.
And it allowed them to be relationship focused, to go in, to take the time to talk, to communicate, to educate, so that it wasn't this aggressive get in line with 700 other cars outside your local CVS.
Absolutely. So with CVS and Walgreens, yes, there's the efficiencies, but there's not the relationship. It just shows you how important those personal relationships, that sense of place and community is to implementing something even as complex as a national vaccine rollout or a statewide vaccine rollout. And I think that's something that we should be thinking about. Plus, it supports small companies. It supports small businesses. These pharmacies are local in their economies. They don't have a Wall Street presence.
Right.
And
exactly. So it's not only supporting these pharmacies in their efforts to vaccinate people, but it's also supporting them economically in a time when, without the infrastructure of larger corporations, many small businesses and small entrepreneurial businesses are really, really struggling. And this is one of those solutions that we talk about where a small choice has a positive economic impact, social impact, and health and wellness impact. It's that changing the world for good mindset that we look at when you look at investing locally. This is what can happen. More efficacy and a raised population entirely.
Yeah. And I think another factor in this is that, West Virginia is pretty rural. There's a lot more people who are living in more rural communities as opposed to urban communities. So Walgreens and CVS, they're not interested in having places in those rural towns because there's not that many people.
Right. So there's just an insufficient population to justify the investment of a new large-scale organization.
I mean, so it was not just a decision, but was also because of the lay of the land in West Virginia. And it ended up being a more successful rollout because of that. I mean, there's still a far way to go, but their tactics are being looked at as a successful model that we may want to employ in other states, and adding these kinds of more personal local pharmacies into the mix in terms of helping to roll out this vaccine.
Yeah.
So I wanted to highlight that story, and there's some other great stuff today. Summers, you want to read through some of our other headlines?
This one from the social justice section of the Optimist Daily. The headline reads, How a Former KKK Meeting Place Became a Center for Healing. And again, this is a local project out of South Carolina, Lawrence, South Carolina, called the Echo Project. And they're converting this former meeting place with very dark history into a racial reconciliation museum. It's absolutely beautiful, and the story is just very compelling. Japanese studio designs airless soccer ball for kids in impoverished areas. I think we've seen soccer balls like this a lot. I know there's the One World ball. If you really think about it, for towns with impoverished communities, if the ball deflates, there's nowhere to reinflate it. So these airless balls are really, really great solutions for play. Scientists engineer a plane component that cuts the nitrous oxide emissions by 95%. I had to take a second there to remember what nitrogen oxide is.
Just call it NOx.
I'm looking at NOx and I'm thinking, it is too early for chemistry. I need my sophomore in high school to tell me what that one is. There's also a headline about 5 ways athletes benefit from a plant-based diet. Definitely eating less meat is good. New York's popular Park High Line will expand to improve pedestrian access. And let's see, creative ways to express gratitude. We love gratitude here at the Optimist Daily for sure. New solar windows allow more light to pass through than ever before. And these sleek sneakers are made from mushroom-derived leather. Adidas and Stella McCartney are, using mycelium, but this Indonesian biotech startup, Mycel, is another good example. So that and a lot more. Search our over 15,000 amazing articles on the Optimist Daily. Search our archives if you're an Optimist Daily emissary and find something to inspire you and those around you today.
And that's it. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening to the Optimist Daily Update. We promise to keep sharing these positive solution-based stories every day, as we do, with ideas on how you can participate in the changing world and help ensure it is changed for the good. We promise to keep covering current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and keep offering you the information needed most to chart new paths for all of us.
Thank you, everybody, and please consider becoming an Optimist Daily emissary on optimistdaily.com. For just $5 a month, support reader-funded, independent journalism. Be part of the solution, changing consciousness and addressing our world's biggest challenges with a problem-solving mindset, even when you're having a bad day. Let's keep the Optimist Daily free to all who need it, supported by those who can. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.